Our guest today, Donna Allegra, serves as an advisory and a design director for Argyle. Living in Manhattan, Donna has been in the proxy design business for nearly 10 years, so she really knows her stuff. I'm Brock Romanak today on Zippy Point. So Donna, the skills and qualifications matrix, if there's any part of the proxy that lends itself to proxy design, I would say it's the matrix, because that's what it is. It's the matrix is the chart. And so, of course, we've seen some wonderful things in recent years. And why don't you talk to that?
Sure. Thank you, Brock. I'd be delighted. Back in the day and in 2009, the SEC adopted amendments providing investors with meaningful disclosures that would help them in their voting decisions, and by better enabling them to determine whether and why director candidates are an appropriate choice for a particular company. So, and then that got the boost in the arm in 2017 with the letter from the New York City Controller's Office to 151 companies. And even more recently, we had 51 companies receive a letter to talk about diversity, but we're going to save that for another webinar. But the New York City Controller's Office did ask for a skills matrix, and some did and some didn't. But what we're seeing overall is a general improvement in the ways this is being discussed and the way it's being shown. So we're going to talk about a few different points here today. And what I first want to start with, I'm going to go over to the screen and show you, but we want to really talk about first why the skills are relevant. I think it's important to understand how we tie the skills into strategy. So I'm going to share the screen with you now. And I'd like to start with HealthPeak, which is formerly HCP. Carol and her team have worked so hard to enable readers to understand how the skills link with their strategy. And healthcare, this is a healthcare real estate investment trust. And so if we look at this well-presented, well-prepared skills matrix, you'll see, we start with icons, which are really important because we carry those icons through the balance of the proxy. But you'll also see here, if we click on, or if I show you here, the real estate experience. Okay, helpful to understanding the company's strengths and challenges specific to the real estate investment industry. And we see here 88% of the directors possess that skill. So again, we're linking a skill here to the company's strategy. And if we go further, and I show you a little bit here about Colgate-Palmolive. Now, everybody knows Colgate-Palmolive, but what I want to show you here is that if I look at their skills and experience, and this is what you see here on the screen, you see industry as a skills criteria. And directors with experience in the fast-moving consumer goods industry have experience with consumer engagement and therefore can provide valuable market and consumer insights. Again, we see here how Rebecca really understands what it is that investors are looking for. And if we go down the page and ultimately we come to a skills matrix, but I think what's really fun for me to talk to you about here and show you is what we have done for ConocoPhillips. This is an oil and gas company in Houston, and Shannon and Whitney, they do a fantastic proxy, nominated for Proxy Statement of the Year a couple of years ago, corporate governance team. And what I really like about this proxy is that there is a good focus on environmental and sustainability. And clearly they're telling us environmental sustainability experience ensures that strategic business essentials and long-term value creation for stockholders are achieved with a responsible, sustainable business model. They really go into detail throughout their proxy, explaining a lot about their sustainability initiatives. And when you come to their matrix here, and I apologize for the quality of the screen here, but you can see that there is a good number of directors that possess this specific skill. So it's very detailed, and it gives you a really nice overview of where the company is going and what they're doing. So it's important that we continue to link the skill with the company strategy. Often a company that is doing well in presenting the skills matrix is also doing other things in their proxy really well. And I think that's important to note, that they might go and report more on the trends or extra financial returns, corporate purpose. So it's really important to note that. What we also start to see here is that the matrix itself has become its own standalone. And what do directors bring to that? You know, what skills do the directors bring? We want to see it clearly in this proxy. And here is a great example of what we've done with Exelon. And Elizabeth and Catherine do alignment of compensation to strategy really well, among other things. But here we see this detailed matrix. We're showing, of course, we have our icons, and I'm very partial, I suppose, to icons and what they bring to the proxy. But here, you know, if we just go to finance, okay, corporate finance and capital management experience are important to effectively oversee the financial affairs of Exelon's businesses and operations. And we see which directors possess that skill. And it goes down the list, and we can talk about safety and security. So this is a really well-presented, well-defined matrix. We also see how we do this with Occidental. It's a more straightforward, but again, they're providing us with a rationale for all of the skills that are necessary to the company and their strategy. And this is one of my favorites. This is for Foot Locker. And talk about disclosures here. This is a really visually dynamic proxy, and Anthony creates this lively, visually appealing document, and it's so much fun to just go through. But when you look at this matrix, it's really important that, first of all, they've categorized the skills. There's a leadership category, strategy, and on the following page you would see governance. And what they really hit on this, it's amazing. Youth culture at the very bottom here, target market. So they're letting you know that youth culture is part of their strategy. And it's just so defined and so detailed. And I would recommend anybody just look through this, because it's just a really visually exciting and dynamic matrix and report, for that matter. I also now want to talk a little bit, because sometimes, you know, there's a number of companies that do not want to tag a director with a specific skill. It's sometimes challenging to attribute certain skills to a specific director. It's, as somebody told me, it's like if you're someone that's made it to the level of the boardroom for a Fortune 1000 company, you know, you can play all positions. So you can be offense and you can be defense. That's how. So, you know, so instead of tagging an individual director, what we can do is provide blended skills. And this is a really good example in this proxy here for Southern Company. We're not attributing any specific skill to a director, but you see again that it is a really thoughtful presentation. And if we look at geographic regional, my eye just went right there. 8 of the 14 directors possess that skill. So again, it's really carefully laid out, and Laura and Lindsay have done an amazing job putting all of this together. And then we can come to CSX, right? Railroads and line haul operations. This is just a really clean, neat overview of a skills matrix where it's done, you know, we're not tagging a specific director, but instead it is an overview of the directors. So if we look at transportation industry, we know that 4 out of the 11 directors possess that skill that is necessary. There's yet another layer that I want to go through with you. And what we want to ask is, where do these directors get these skills? You know, where does this come from? For example, Chevron. I'm going to look at Mr. Hernandez's qualifications, his skills and qualifications. So where does he get these skills? Well, business and leadership, more than 30 years as chairman and CEO of Intercon. His global business and international affairs. Well, his CEO of a company that conducts business worldwide. So it's written for everyone to see and to understand where those qualifications came from. But on the flip side, I can show you here GE. And GE uses an icon system. where, for these director bios. So if you want to know where Thomas Horton has acquired his skills, well, we know that when he was chairman of American Airlines, as you'll see here, he acquired specific skills using the icons. We have industry, we have global, and we have risk. So it's really succinct. It's a terrific biography because it's specific. It is succinct. It's easy to read, and it conveys a lot of information in very few words. A company that is looking hard at skills and looking at them from all perspectives, why they're important to the company, which directors bring certain skills, how they come together on the board, where the directors acquire those skills. When you look at GE, you know that Julia and Brian tell that story clearly, and that readers understand this very quickly. And finally, I want to just discuss, last but not least, I want to talk about, the full picture. Some companies link director skills to the committee assignments. So let's take it a step further and let's talk about why the directors serve on an individual committee. And there's a few ways of doing that. So if we look at AllState, again, the team of Deborah, Dan, and Leanne are just really incredible. And we go down the bio, and looking at Ms. Redmond's bio, we see that down below that her board service, we see committee assignments and rationale, nominating and governance committee. Well, why? Why is she serving on that committee? Well, because she has significant expertise in recruiting and evaluating, You understand why certain skills pertain to certain committees. Walmart does a great job with this too. It's simplified, but what they do here, if you look at technology and e-commerce, well, 5 members have global or international business experience. And actually, I should point out that just above that, there are 5 members that sit on that committee, and all 5 have global or international business experience. So it's all broken down for you. 4 members have senior leadership. It's simple, but it's really effective. And again, this is the team of Jennifer, Chris, Jeff, and Carrie that really put together a well-executed piece. That kind of gives you an overview and sort of what we're doing. You can look at Argyle's website. We have the compendium of all the skills presented by the companies that received the letter from the controller's desk. We will have an update on how those skills have evolved between 2017 and 2020. So you can download both of those.
So Donna, I mean, it's really amazing to me and fascinating to see the different approaches that companies are taking to the ones that do provide matrices in their proxy. Some are using single color, some look like at least 4 color, especially
Absolutely.
if you have a color photograph of your directors. But even with a single color, they just really pop out at you. And the fact that you're tying strategy to the directors that you're recruiting and putting on your board, it makes this, to me, one of the most important pieces of the proxy. And
you're right.
That should probably be required by the SEC to be included in all companies' proxies.
And more companies are starting to do it. I think those that have been resistant to it are really starting to see that it's really important. And I think at Argyle, it's so important. It's content that follows design. And so to have a matrix and to show that matrix, you really, what is the importance and what is the value? And we need to link the strategy to each of those skills. Otherwise, it doesn't really serve much purpose.
Yeah. Great stuff. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure.